Hello. Mhm. Okay. So of course we are continuing with the rear suspension, and of course changes will be made to what we have done here. Um, so let me bring you closer, of course. There. Uh, so two things. First, we need to determine where the where this can be. So the outer part of the swing arm, because of course we need to take into account that we have the rocker panel, so this cannot extend past the rocker panel. That's one very important decision that needs to be made. Second, um, we are not gonna do it this way, because I have taken a look at how the Sierra rear swing arms are made, and of course they are, well, very different from what we have here in one very specific way. So here we are missing all of the structure because we assumed that it's like with the E30. But here with the Sierra, if we look at it from behind, we basically have like the main structure. Thank you, camera. The main structure is here in this level. So a little, well, lower. Now we have to check exactly how much lower it has to be, but I think it needs to be, well, basically we're gonna place this like this, and the suspension is gonna be like this, something like this. I mean, just to demonstrate. So this is the level where the swing arm actually is gonna be. So yeah, so it there will be room for the half axle, and the suspension arm is gonna be under the half axle. Now we'll see how we can do this, but before we do any of this, I'm gonna make myself well, a template, uh, so I know exactly where the limits are, um, where uh, where the rocker panel is, where the center line is of the car, so that we can size up the suspension properly. Otherwise, there, there is gonna be just chaos. Um, so let's do that first. Um, okay, we can have the rear suspension slightly wider than the front. So we are gonna go for this. We're gonna have it, well, potentially a little wider, but we are gonna keep in mind that there's like half a stud here between those, because you know the fenders are a little bit further out, so you know. Oh well. First I want the outer structure. And then we are gonna mark the points on this. Let's see. I think it's a 9er. Yeah, it's a 9er. Okay. Okay, so that's the entire width of the rear suspension. I mean, not the rear suspension, of the rear. Yeah, of the rear of the car. Of course, we have our center here, and okay, this is as far as the outer supports, so these can be, so they cannot be any further out, otherwise there's no way we can mount the rocker panel. Okay, and of course we have to keep in mind that we have to keep enough room in the middle for the differential. So now that we have this, come on, let's set this aside. There. Okay. And now let's first focus. Now that we have this, let's focus on the hubs. So before we have had the hubs that were the well, whatever this is, mounted directly to the hubs. Now it's not. Now we're gonna have something like this. Not exactly this, but something like this. And if we take a look at the Sierra suspension, there, I'm copying basically the links that I have into the chat. There we go, and this one. But yeah, okay, the other is very hard to see. So basically we are gonna try to approximate, well, something like this. Not sure how we are gonna do this yet. Because, you know, sorry. The main problem is that what's gonna happen is that whatever we have here, we're gonna get some bending action. Not, I mean, there will be some bending action anyway, but here, in this scenario, what happens is that when the loads, the bending is basically transferred to this. So the bending, instead of bending, it goes directly into motion. If you know what I mean, because of the angles. Here, I'm kind of afraid that whatever we do here, it's gonna, I don't know. I don't even know how to do it, but the thing is that the more I see, the more I watch the. Okay, maybe I have a solution. Okay. Okay, one of the solutions could be that we still mount it like this. We still have stuff mounted this way, but we kind of use something to fix this together. Because the goal here, the goal would be basically that we have a suspension arm that goes from here directly diagonally to the inner mounting point. That's how it's done on the real car. That would be, well, most ideal. Well, a little bit longer than this. That's a little bit longer, so 13. However, we would use this rather than this. And we would use it like this. Like this. Like this. Like this. Okay. So, something like this. Here we can get away with having the drive shaft without interfering. Our shock absorber is going to be here, mounted probably, well, not to this, but it must be mounted here, so that the wheel directly pushes up the shock absorber, and then the bending action here is minimal, really. So it would be something like this. Something like this, and then we have to engineer, a bend here. Yeah. Something like this. Not sure about the height here, but this is pretty complicated in the real car. But I'm probably we need to design it with the right height in mind. So basically, the center of the wheel bearing needs to be, well, somewhere where the front is gonna be as well. Just let me look at the blueprints. Where does it need to be? Okay, basically just where the rocker panel ends, there it needs to be. So technically, hey Mr. Morty, so technically if we look at the rocker panel here, and if we look at the bearing here, we need to be here. So this axle here needs to be on this, yeah, on this plane. Okay, so when the car is at right height, it's gonna be this is gonna be the right height, approximately. So approximately, of course, I mean, ish, somewhere here on the border between, I'd say on the border between the rocker panel and this. So about 2.5 studs in is where the car is gonna be when settling on the right height. Okay, so when looking at the front, we can, or we should, infer where the rear needs to be. So when we have the car on right height, the rear trailing arm needs to be parallel to the ground. That's the ideal situation. So it needs to be parallel to the ground, so that basically the camber and the toe are zero because of the geometry of the rear suspension. That's basically what we want. And this means that, well, what exactly does this mean? So we said that the middle of our bearing needs to be like here. So here. Okay, so this means that, well, it's not gonna be exactly parallel because we cannot do this exactly parallel, but the rear is gonna be, as it should be, I guess, slightly higher than the front. Okay, so half a stud of height difference between the front and the rear over the length of the car is not really gonna be noticeable, and we're gonna have it here. Okay, we're gonna have it here, and of course, depending on the weight, it's gonna be different anyway, and we probably we're gonna change the height of this anyway during the build, but just so that we know where and how this needs to be. I mean, why am I talking about this so much? I'm talking about this so much because when we do the rear suspension, we need to determine where the point is. So where exactly the point of rotation of the rear swing arms is. And of course, looking at the real car, it's at bearing height. So the rear swing arms curl up in the rear car, and this is what we need to do as well. And the rear suspension bridge is done in a way where basically it's very weird. I don't know how we are gonna replicate it, but basically, where do I have this? If this is the rear swing arm, the rear suspension bridge goes like this, so that this guy here is mounted on top of the suspension bridge, and this guy here on the bottom, because the rear suspension bridge is, kind of diagonal. It's a weird shape. Okay. Well, after looking at the Bricklink prices of those shocks, no. I am using them for the front, but I'm not spending 21 euros per side per wheel for another pair, you know. So we'll do something else. There's enough other Lego shocks that we can use, and the rear, is gonna be, I guess, lighter than the front. If not, we can use two shocks per, you know. I'm probably gonna use the yellow ones. These, probably, probably gonna. I don't know. We'll see. I think I think I had the hard shocks from the Unimog, but I don't know why I don't have them anymore. Maybe I gave them to Ivan. I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't have them anymore. I cannot find them, and they should be in the spring box. So we'll see. We'll see. But the geometry here is more important. If in the emergency situation we can still use pneumatic rear shocks. I mean the pneumatic cylinders where we can adjust the shocks. We'll see. But the rear suspension is actually quite complex. Despite the simple ingredients, it's the geometry really that makes it challenging. Okay, so this already means that our swing arm needs to start climbing up. So 13 we are not gonna use. Instead, we're gonna use a staggered situation. So probably something like this. Basically, we just need to pass this point. Then we can start climbing. So this would be like 2, 6. Yeah, we can even reverse this. I think should be okay. Yeah, that already has room. But still, we need to do it like this, because we probably need this part here to connect it with this leg of the suspension. Well, I don't know if I want them. Not sure. So, problem is that I would still like people to build the Sierra. And if I use some weird combination of stuff that people cannot obtain or is hard to obtain, I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. If I would do a model just for myself, then I would not care. Then I would just take whatever is on hand. But since this is not the case, I don't think I would like that. Okay. So now before I do anything else, I'm gonna first determine where exactly are the mounting points, where the extreme positions of the mounting points for our suspension are. So this is the outermost point where this can be. Yep. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But you see, the modified harps are not that difficult to obtain or make yourself. I mean, I've shown that it's no miracle required to make them. There's, I mean, in the crudest way, you know what you could do. In the crudest way, you could basically just sand off this part, measure the unmodified width of this, take a drill bit. It's a little bit crude, but it's one of the ways that you could do it. Take a drill bit, drill a hole of the right diameter, then you can put this in without using a lathe. Okay, so a lathe is not required. You don't have to even modify this part at all, just this part, if you're being crude. It is possible, so you can do it at home. You just have to buy basically just these three parts separately. Okay, these three basically. Okay, you need these three parts, and you can make the wheel hub. No lathe required. Clip off the ears of this, sand it down, drill a hole in this with a drill bit that's the right size for this, and you can glue this in. Job done. It's a little bit cruder, but it would work as well. I mean, it's, if you risk, those parts are about €1 each. So if you, let's say, experiment with them a little bit and buy, well, the black one is really a non-issue because you need just one. But for experimentation, perhaps buy a few of these and then experiment with what works best. Okay, and once you're happy with this, you go. It's not that expensive. Or you can, of course, pay me to do it. But to be honest, I would be more happy if I see some of you make your own. That's my goal, to encourage you to do your own. And that's also my philosophy, why I for these kind of builds, I would use just parts that are easily obtainable by people. Well, semi-easily, okay? But they are obtainable. Okay, now I need to recreate this geometry here. So we put this on here. And this guy, okay. This guy is gonna be mounted here. Like that. Come on. There. And there. Okay, now we know exactly where we are here. Obviously, This guy here cannot be here because this is already too close to the center of the car. It's basically in the center of the car, and we have the drive shaft here, so we need to move it a little bit further out here, or maybe even further out, but it's okay. You know, the drive shaft goes here, so we should be fine theoretically. What? Which part is this? Let's see. 6, 3, 8, 6, 9. What is this? How and where would you put axle holes in here? And why? That's intriguing. Why would you do that? I mean, I can see the use, but I don't know. I guess I wouldn't do that. Okay. Where were we? Yeah. Here. Okay. And of course, we need to determine where this needs to be. Okay. Here. Here. You need to be here. Fine. There. You know, just so I don't have to have the wheel on it. And I'm gonna make myself another one of these. Is it here? Is it here? Yeah, that's it. That's it. Okay, so just so we know where this needs to be. Of course, we are not gonna use it like that. There, because now we are gonna have to have it like this or something. Yeah, I think this is gonna be all right. We have to shorten this. Probably needs to be made of all of this. Like that. And I guess we can use this. I mean, in the end, we can use bars for fixing the suspension anyway. I like the idea. Okay. Here I'm not checking the distance between the wheel and the suspension bridge is okay. Looks alright. Looks about it. Okay, so now this to this. This to this. And I would like to make a triangle here. Because I do see how it's done on the real car. Somehow we need to use this better. Maybe if we do use this, like that, and we extend this a little bit, use this here, and then something. Wait a bit. Let's see if we have a use for this. Maybe we have use for this guy. Maybe. This is a Bionicle stuff. This was used in Bionicles. Yeah, but somehow this isn't gonna work. because we don't get the right geometry. Woodwork with the wheel, of course, because it would, you know, create this opening here where the wheel would be able to run. But no, something more, well, not necessarily more complex, but something different is gonna be required. At this point, I'm basically gonna fix this in place. There, just so it doesn't fool me. I mean, on the real car, it's so easy because it's a stamped metal piece, and well, making shapes is easy. Yeah, I guess, yeah. Obscure parts are interesting, yeah. I mean, but you know, I use these parts in the LP Power one-way clutch housings. They are extremely well handy in those, and they make everything look like a bell housing. So I like them. It's a really nice part. Shame they don't make them anymore, because Bionicle is kind of dead. Damn it. Never was the way I imagined. What the fuck, camera? Hello. Thank you. You know what I'm thinking, right? All right. What if we try this? Okay. So these look surprisingly parallel. Surprisingly. What are the odds? What are the odds? They are not great, I must admit. The odds are not great. Hello. Are you gonna improve our odds? Oh, happy birthday. Are you getting some Lego? Yeah, we could use a cake. So no, that's not gonna work. Or is it? Okay, so what we could do, one of the possibilities here. I don't like this idea. We're gonna explore it a little bit further, but let's see what the geometry says. You know what? I don't like it, of course, because slack here, potential slack here. I don't feel it yet, but no. Um, I'm not sure about this at all. Okay. I'm gonna run you through just as soon as I kind of fix this together. Just a second. Just a second. I'm just gonna butcher it together so I can show you. I mean, this is surprisingly, oh my god, this is actually surprisingly stiff. Oh my god, I'm amazed myself. Okay, let me show you how this works. It won't clear the wheel. Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see it. Mm. Mm. Will this clear the wheel? No. This won't clear the wheel either. This might. I'm just gonna use this as spacer, doesn't matter. And this is slightly too long. I mean, what the? Some strange geometry. Okay, let's ignore this for a moment. Let's ignore this entirely for a moment. Let's gonna deal with this later and focus entirely on this. Okay, let's deal with this later. Let's put this on. And let's find first a solution that works for this. So obviously we need to find a solution that clears the wheel like this. And of course, not just clearing the wheel, we need something that's gonna, well, let's say work. So ideally this would be mounted like this. So this would be a 90-degree angle in this case. cannot use this guy here, because then we don't have anything to make this angle. This angle is well, I don't think we have a connector for this angle, but we cannot use a connector here anyway. So technically we need to make something out of this. So if these two were parallel, well, this would kind of work. The problem is that then we have this problem again. This would all need these two, so these two would need to be one stud higher than they are. Technically speaking, but we could do then something like this, you know, to get this beam towards this part, but then some magic would need to happen here. Some kind of magic would need to happen here. Here we have relatively well, enough freedom that we can do something. And the shock absorber, of course, is going to mount in this area here. So we need to keep this in mind. So this needs to be reinforced a little bit. And it's going to be reinforced from here. And here we can do whatever we like, basically, just so that we fix this together. I mean, for now, I'm gonna do, well, the easy and simple solution, just so that I have them together, and we can brainstorm something more complex. Or in our case, something that's, well, simpler. I know I'm contradicting myself, but you know what I mean. Okay, so now if we manage to somehow connect this to this, this is gonna be actually a very sturdy setup. Very sturdy setup, yeah, indeed. This has room for potential for improvement, but this is gonna be interesting. But it's, you know, it's stiff enough so that we can postpone the solution for here and see what we get here. because we need to find a mounting point for this here. So already we have trouble here because we need to be more in here. But we can basically move this. We can move this guy. Not sure if it's a good idea or what the result is gonna be. So we can move this in this fashion. Okay. Let's check if we still have room with the wheel. We don't. Surprise, surprise. We don't have room with the wheel anymore. Okay, we do need to move this guy a little bit further to here, but at the same time I would like to move this one stud further to the front, and this one stud, half a stud, we don't have that much room further to the outside, while this needs to go there. So we could possibly, or could we solve everything in one go? If we, what if we move this like that? So now we move this one full stud out. Full stud out, and we can move this further out, and then we are at square one again. But no, the wheel, we are fine. We are fine. The gap between the wheel and this is half a stud. This is exactly how it should be. So this is fine. This is fine. Yeah, okay. This is fine. Okay, now let's mount this. So we can basically move this guy one stud closer. What did I just do? No, the other way. This needs to be here. Too close to comfort. Too close for comfort, maybe. Yeah, maybe. So we're gonna use a shorter one. So a 9er. Yeah, a 9er. It's gonna be too short, I guess. This can be 1, 2, 3. I have no idea what I'm doing at the moment. Okay. Zero idea what I'm doing. Okay, this is not good. But what if we do the following? Yes. But no, but you know, these two are not exactly parallel. So the geometry here is not quite what it needs to be. Not yet. But we are getting closer. But I want to show Mr. Omorti what's happening with the camber and caster stuff. Okay, so imagine we are at right height. So the angles here are 0. So there's 0 camber, 0 toe. Okay, 0 toe. So first, let's see what happens with the toe, because we have to take a look at both phenomenons separately. Otherwise, we're not gonna see them. So when the wheel is unloaded, okay, when the wheel is unloaded, the toe increases. So the toe goes out. The toe does this. So when the wheel is unloaded, the toe increases. When the wheel is loaded, wait. Yeah, it's not. This is not parallel to this to begin with. So I cannot properly judge. But the toe, I think, yeah, when the wheel gets unloaded, it gets out. When the wheel gets loaded, the toe gets pulled in. And camber, of course, when the wheel gets unloaded, the camber, well, decreases. When the wheel gets loaded, the camber increases. So that's kind of what's happening here. It's kind of, it's kind of the precursor, as I explained in one of the previous videos. It's a precursor to the multi-link suspension. It does many of the same things that a multi-link suspension does, but with far fewer parts. It's not as sophisticated, and you don't have as much control over the movement of the wheel as in the multi-link suspension. But for the amount of parts that it uses, it's good enough. Yeah, this is better. Not perfect, but better. Good part is there's no movement here. So despite us having basically, well, there's no pivot point here, but there's a pivot point here, but it doesn't matter because, this is perfectly locating it. Now we need to make the connection here, for the final location. But this is actually not bad. Not bad at all. And of course, we are gonna have the spring mounted here, so that the wheel hub pushes on the spring, and none of this is being burdened with carrying the weight of the car. Because if it was, then we would have to do this completely differently, and this would be, well, unfeasible. So this is better. So we don't have to burden this structure with a spring, because it certainly wouldn't hold up. That's why I chose this in the E30 as well, and that's why we are gonna do this here as well. But as far as I can tell, this is still not good. This is actually, well, it's now, despite me having it at neutral, so basically at parallel with our guide lift arm, I have slight toe out, which I shouldn't. It should be neutral. So we need to, adjust this geometry a little bit. Probably what we need to do is, well, I would say we need to extend this, or we need to extend this to, this part here is key. So basically we need to make this connection here slightly longer, so that this gets pushed a little bit outward here. But first I'm gonna make this connection here and see what happens. this is now very strong. Yeah, I guess it's parallel now. It really depends on the angle, but it looks like it's parallel ish. But you know, the moment this swings, this changes anyway. Yeah, but this is nice. This is nice and strong. Yeah. Despite this being actually an axle connection, this is strong, but I have to advise you, see, come on. Okay. You see that this joint here is under a little bit of stress. It's not exactly as it should be. It's not exactly as it should be. Of course, if we go half this, so half a stud there, we can't. But it's not exactly parallel to this. So this is not ideal. It's even more apparent now. See, it's even more apparent. But yeah, the secret basically is here. We need to change this so that this is gonna be exactly parallel. And to force us to do this, we're gonna make this immovable, and we are gonna use this guy here to make a fixed connection there. But of course, if we have a fixed connection here, then this isn't right. So we have to have, oh my god, yeah, so this angle here, despite being so nice and perfect, it's not nice and perfect after all. Doesn't really coincide with our geometry here. Of course, what we could do is change our geometry a little bit, or let's say we would cheat a little bit. That's what we can do, so that this actually would coincide with this. Yeah, I mean, we actually should do this. It's a small compromise, small compromise. Should make the rear angle a little bit milder, still more extreme than the E30, but a little bit milder. This is what we're gonna do. And then the geometry is gonna work. Yep. Now there's no binding here. Let's see what we can do here. Well, the front axle on the Audi wouldn't cause that much of trouble. I don't think so. Now what? Okay. Suddenly this needs to be longer. Yeah, it needs to be longer. Yeah, doesn't feel right. Nope. Okay, so none of this is okay here. So I guess this has to be longer. Let's experiment. Yep. This is pretty much what we want. right, of course, because this isn't binding. And this is now parallel. Perfectly parallel. Not binding. Kinda binding. But I'll let it slide. So basically this and this is not perfectly parallel. But you know, yeah. It's kinda satisfactory. Not entirely. Oh my god. Why does this need to be so difficult? I mean, it shouldn't be so difficult. Really shouldn't. I don't like it. I mean, I don't like it. First of all, I don't like the fact that we had to decrease the angle. Second, I don't like this part here. I don't like this part here. It doesn't feel right. It's not what I would like to have on the car. Yeah. Does not feel right. Well, obviously we need to rethink this. Obviously. Hmm. Of course, I mean, that's not even a question. Of course, if this was Lego, the front and rear would be solved from the start. You would just put you would just put the same suspension as in the Land Rover on it, and it's done. Why experiment? But that's not fun. I mean, the end result when we finish this is gonna be great. We're gonna love it. It's gonna be unique, special, you know, it's gonna be something different, but it takes a while until you know, you arrive at a solution, and the solution is not always so easy. Some things are easy. This definitely isn't. I always struggled with these. With the E30, I found a nice solution. Well, here, not so much, but we are gonna find a solution for this. Definitely, we have to. There is a solution for this. Absolutely. Hmm. Ah, it's too close to for comfort. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. One little problem, but nothing unsolvable. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. This would be fine, but the problem is that the distance between the tire and this is is too big. Should be like one stud closer. But I cannot make this fit here. And I cannot make this closer to the tire because then, you know, the distance here is gonna be too small. What I can do is I can use this and do something similar. I guess. But the distance here is perfect. This needs to be exactly half a stud. See, half a stud, and it is. Well, approximately, but it's good enough for us. But we need to decrease the distance from the tire to this. That distance is too large. Yeah. I mean, this is nice, but if I bring this closer, it's not gonna work. I need to get rid of this anyway. Because this needs to be here. And if this is here, well, we still have some clearance. We still have some clearance. The cross block. Which cross block? What is a cross block? And connectors are not gonna be used here. Okay? Yeah, but now I don't have a way of fixing this in place. That's the problem. But as we said, the axle and this guy here need to be in the same plane, no matter what we do. Hmm. Shit. I'm completely out of ideas, to be honest. And I thought, you know, I thought it's gonna be simple. It's far from it. But you know, we had situations like this in the charger as well, and then we solved them very elegantly. So I'm not worried, but I'm just at the moment I'm just stuck. Um, I probably can put a number 2 connector there, but why would I do that? Okay. I mean, let's try fixing it in place. I know it's not gonna help, because that's not the problem. But let's fix it in place. Approximately where I want it. I know exactly where it needs to be. That's the problem. I know exactly where it needs to be. But the problem is not really the location, the problem is the angles. Okay, let's say it would be somewhere here. Okay. The space here between the wheel and has to be half a stud. So something like that. Okay. Now the problem with this setup is that okay, the wheel is in place, but my hands are tied. I cannot do anything. I cannot take the wheel off the hub to experiment with this part without taking everything here apart again. So yeah, and I don't have any more ideas because this is fixed in place. I mean, I know exactly how this needs to be, but usually what helps is to go completely in a different direction. You know, you get stuck. I know with the E30 I got stuck in in uh, in exactly this point here, and it took me days to then got unstuck and find the solution that I ultimately used in the build, which I still think it is great. Um, Maybe. maybe this, or maybe it could be one stat further down. Maybe this is okay. I mean, I got nothing other than maybe, I don't know, directly combining this with this, but I think we have already done this before. You know, something like this. But we've been there. Been there. Doesn't really help us. Ish. Yeah, but you know, I know what you're getting at, but the problem here is it's much more complex and it's very 3D. This is a very 3D problem, which is not that easily solved. And please don't get me wrong, but we are gonna solve it. That's not even a question. It's the problem is gonna be solved. The question is only how. Yeah, exactly. I am, since I'm not building this in CAD, it's a little bit more complex than that, because I am building with Lego pieces. So with CAD, you once you fix everything into position, you just make everything else the right length, and that's it. I mean, that's how car designers work, right? But here with Lego, it's slightly more difficult, because we are limited by the grid. So basically, stud, half stud, and the Lego angles. So, but the Lego geometry. And while this is many times beneficial, sometimes it's a pain in the ass. But we'll get through this. We'll get through this. Yeah. The problem is, what is the right order? Do you know? I don't. Because the right order is, well, the right order is changing every time. It's basically changing with every project. Yep, that I think we do agree on. There is always a solution. We just need to find it. And sometimes um, the journey to find it is, well, it's interesting. Of course, I'm just brainstorming here. This is not a solution that I'm gonna use. It's just geometry searching. Geometry wise, this looks fine. The angles here are okay. Well, not 100%, but that's never gonna be perfect. Hmm. Yeah, this isn't gonna be. This isn't gonna fix this in place. Hmm. I don't like this at all. But this is not. I think this is not the right geometry. This would be. No. Hmm. pipe dream. That was just a pipe dream. One can be so easily misled. Doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't take much, but it's just not right. Would be perfect if this would fit, but it doesn't. Just doesn't. Wait, could it? Could. It could. Okay, we have to make this work. There's not much that's in the way, I guess. This is just not okay. is longer. This could be our solution. This could be our solution. I can feel it. I can feel it. Almost. No, not quite. But I mean, this is very sturdy geometry. I like it a lot. Needs some tweaking, maybe. Needs some tweaking, but this basic geometry is what we are gonna use in one way or another. Yeah. Anyway, I am spent. As always, you know, time to call it quits. I'll see you on Wednesday, same time. Hopefully, on Wednesday we're gonna solve this puzzle. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, because you know this is expensive. And again, thanks for watching, and I see you on Wednesday.